Heartwarming millionaire discovers hidden danger upon rushing daughter to ER. Incredible Doctor's compassion unveils community crisis. Michael could still smell the sweet aroma of pancakes wafting through their sunny kitchen, the walls adorned with portraits of family vacations and silly selfies. He paused to soak in the laughter shared over breakfast, his heart swelling with pride. Having built a comfortable life from humble beginnings, he had everything he wanted, a loving wife by his side and their energetic daughter, Lily, who filled their home with joy. But as the morning brightened, a shadow fell over their happiness. "Daddy!" Lily suddenly gasped, clutching her stomach, her cherubic face contorting in agony. Michael's heart dropped. In an instant, he was on his feet, scooping her up as she whimpered softly against him, her small body trembling. Without giving it a second thought, he raced toward the car, his mind flooded with fear and desperation. As they burst through the emergency room doors, chaos engulfed them. The sizzle of fluorescent lights hummed overhead, mixing with the clamor of nurses and doctors. Michael's heart hammered in sync with the rapid beeping of the machines. He felt the familiar weight of fear press against his chest as he searched for someone to help his daughter. It was then that he spotted Dr. Sarah. Her soothing presence cut through the panic like a knife. Known for her kindness and experience, she moved quickly, her calm demeanor setting Michael's nerves slightly at ease. She knelt to Lily's level, running a gentle hand across her forehead as she whispered comforting words. Michael watched in awe as Lily strained to ease her pain, absorbing Dr. Sarah's compassion like a balm on a fresh wound. But amidst that comforting moment, Michael's ears honed in on the scattered conversations buzzing around him. Words like budget cuts and funding shortages sliced through the atmosphere, tightening a knot in his stomach. It was hard to reconcile the lavish life he had built in Maplewood with the struggles that echoed in the ER. He glanced at the families surrounding them, parents with weary faces, kids silently shifting with discomfort. Michael felt helpless. As Lily's condition worsened, the stakes grew higher. Lurking beneath the sterile walls of the hospital was a disheartening realization that shook him to the core. Resources dwindled, and many stood to suffer. A strict policy meant families like Dr. Sarah's could be among those affected. Each passing moment was a reminder of the stark divide separating his world from theirs. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Michael's inner turmoil escalated as the clock continued ticking mercilessly. He knew he had a decision to make, not just for Lily, but for an entire community. Was he prepared to confront the institution that had once offered security for his family, risking everything to ensure others received the same? Just as he was about to reach a conclusion, a sharp cry erupted from Lily, and Michael felt all color drain from his face. As despair rose like boiling water, he realized it was time to act. The path ahead was murky, but Michael understood that profound change often emerges from chaos, and he was ready to rise to the challenge. Compassion unveils community crisis, and he must choose between comfort and courage. The piercing cry of his daughter shattered Michael's resolve, sending him right into an internal whirlwind. The shrill noise drew the attention of nearby families, their faces painted with sympathy, concern mixing into a shared anxiety. He felt their eyes upon him, each gaze a silent plea for action, as panic coursed through his veins. "Daddy!" Lily gasped again, her skin pale, eyes wide with fear. Michael held her tighter, the weight of the world pressing him down. The frantic thoughts were suffocating. Why was this happening? Why wasn't the hospital equipped to handle more? He glanced over and saw Dr. Sarah on the phone, her voice firm, yet calm, as she coordinated care. It anchored him. She was a fighter, a beacon of hope. "Mr. Davis?" A nurse, bright with determination but with dark circles under her eyes, approached him. We need to move Lily to a treatment room. Can you follow us? Every step they took felt like a chasm opening beneath him. Michael nodded, swallowing hard. He'd nurse his daughter through this, he'd find a way to ensure this never happened again. They reached the next room, and as they entered, Michael was momentarily blinded by the fluorescent lights flickering above them. But once his eyes adjusted, he focused solely on Lily. Doctor Sarah was already at work. "Lily, I'm here. We're going to take care of you," she said, her fingers checking vital signs. As he watched, he realized something crucial. He couldn't just stand back and be a worried father. He had to step into the fight. "Doctor," Michael interrupted, urgency blazing in his voice. "What can I do? There has to be something I can help with." Dr. Sarah looked up, surprised. She was used to families feeling helpless, not seeking to shoulder burdens. "You could advocate for more resources. We are stretched too thin, and if the community doesn't know, they want help. That's it," Michael exclaimed, the flicker of hope igniting in his chest. "I've got connections, I can reach out to people, use my platform to spread awareness." The nurse, busy organizing charts, paused, glancing at Michael, her eyes wide with newfound fervor. "If you could rally a campaign, maybe even reach out to funding organizations, that would make a difference." He nodded vigorously, adrenaline spiking. "I'll do it. I won't let families suffer like this. Not on my watch." Lily winced again, and Michael instinctively leaned over, kissing her forehead. He couldn't ignore the fire burning inside him urging him forward. For her, for Dr. Sarah, and for the families huddled in waiting rooms wondering if they'd ever have the potential to receive the help they so desperately needed. As Dr. Sarah continued to examine Lily, Michael's mind raced with ideas. He could mobilize local businesses, hold a fundraiser, raise awareness among influential friends. There had to be a path forward. It wouldn't be easy, but nothing worth fighting for ever was. "Just hold on, baby," he whispered to Lily, leaning in close. "I'm going to fix this." But as determination swelled within him, a stark reality loomed large. The clock was ticking, and he had to face the community's invisible battles. Would they join him, or would he find himself alone against a broken system? As he pondered the road ahead, he caught Dr. Sarah's eye. There was something unsaid between them, a bond forming in the fires of crisis. Would she stand with him, or would the pressures of her own struggles take her away? Just then, a shadow flickered at the edge of his vision, and a man walked in. The hospital administrator, his face taut with stress. Michael's heart sank. What would he say about the resource crisis? What would he ask? Michael braced himself, knowing that the choices he made next could alter everything for Lily and for everyone. And as the man approached, the questions hung like a thick fog, ready to engulf him. Would this be the moment the tide began to turn, or would it sweep him away? Michael squared his shoulders as the hospital administrator approached, the air thick with unspoken tension. The man was a middle-aged figure, graying at the temples, his crisp suit contrasting sharply with the sterile chaos of the emergency room. This was not the time for niceties, but he had to brace himself for whatever storm of bureaucracy lay ahead. "Mr. Davis," the administrator began, his voice clipped, "I understand there's a situation with resource allocation we need to address." He glanced at Lily, her small body trembling on the examination bed, and quickly shifted back to Michael. "But right now, the focus must be on patient care. We have protocols in place." Michael could feel his pulse quickening, like a drumbeat to war. Protocols don't help when there aren't enough beds. Families are suffering, and we need to act. I can help raise funds, awareness, you just have to let me take the lead. The administrator shook his head, concern deepening the lines on his forehead. "I appreciate your enthusiasm, but there are processes you must follow. Change doesn't happen overnight. And it shouldn't be happening at all." Michael shot back, the frustration bubbling over. "Look at my daughter. She can't be just another statistic in a broken system. Dr. Sarah stepped closer, her presence a steadying force. I understand both sides. But Michael is right. Advocating for reform is crucial if we want to make long-term changes. Can we expedite a conversation about potential fundraising and community outreach? The administrator paused, a slight hesitation indicating that he was weighing the risks of considering Michael's suggestions. Then, quietly, he said, I'll see what can be done. Without awaiting acknowledgement, he turned to exit the room, leaving a faint glimmer of hope behind. The moment the door swung shut, Michael shifted his gaze back to Lily. She was breathing, but each gasp seemed heavier than the last. You're not alone, sweetheart, he murmured, determination setting his jaw. I won't let you down. Daddy, are we going home? Lily managed, her voice barely above a whisper, tinged with fear and exhaustion. Soon, baby, soon, he promised, brushing her hair back from her forehead. She looked so fragile, and it twisted his heart like a vice. This wasn't just about one battle, it was about an entire community fighting against a dysfunctional healthcare system. Michael, Dr. Sarah interjected, her tone serious. I want to help too. We could organize a town hall meeting, gather support from other families and professionals in the area. This issue is affecting so many. He could see the passion in her eyes, and it stoked the resolve within him. Yes. Let us do that. Let us get everyone involved, share stories that make this real. Each word felt like powerful fuel bursting from the depths of him. Are you sure you're ready for this? She asked, her brow knitting in uncharacteristic concern. Yes, he declared, his voice steady. For Lily. For the other kids and parents who don't have a voice. I have to do this. He took a deep breath and pulled out his phone, quickly drafting a message to the local contacts he had been keeping for charity events. His fingers danced across the screen. It was time to awaken the community, to rally families who understood the stakes. Healing wasn't just for his daughter, it was for all of them. As he looked up, Dr. Sarah stood beside him. She wasn't backing down either. Together, she said softly, her gaze unwavering, we can start a movement. But before they could solidify a plan, a voice echoed from the hallway. Another nurse rushed in, her expression a mix of urgency and panic. We need help in the pediatric ward. More kids are arriving, and we're running dangerously low on supplies. Michael felt the world tilt beneath him, a rush of dread filling the air. The clock was indeed ticking, but they needed to act fast. Dr. Sarah, I'll go. Wait. You can't go alone. But his determination flared. He couldn't stand by while chaos unfolded across the hospital, with all the uncertainty swirling around him. One thing was certain, he would take this fight to the community. For Lily, for the children who deserved better, and for a system that had to change. As he sprinted toward the pediatric ward, he suddenly wondered what if this battle ignited a fire that spread far beyond the walls of this hospital. Would they emerge as heroes or be consumed in yet another struggle? And far more pressing, if they did rally the community, could they really bring the change they so desperately needed? Michael burst through the doors of the pediatric ward, a whirlwind of urgency and fear gripping him. The cacophony of cries, machine beeps, and hurried footsteps collided in his ears, creating a symphony of chaos. It was worse than he imagined. Young faces, pale with worry and pain, filled the room, and his heart ached for each of them. Over here. A nurse called out, waving him toward a stack of empty supply carts. We need to organize the incoming supplies urgently. Every second counts. Breathing hard, Michael nodded and moved closer, already scanning the room for anything useful. He spotted crates labeled with their contents: bandages, for fluids, antibiotics. What do we need most? He shouted over the din, his voice strained but determined. Everything. But prioritize those crates. She pointed to the back of the room, where medical technicians were frantically trying to stabilize a child struggling to breathe. The urgency coursed through him, igniting a fierce sense of purpose. He could no longer just be a father, he had to be a soldier in this fight. The nurse's calm demeanor was a brief anchor. "Right, let us get these rolled out," she said, and together they made quick work of distributing supplies. Every cart filled felt like a small victory. But they were always aware of the shadows creeping in, more sick children arriving, more resources dwindling. As they continued, Michael stole glances at the chaos unfolding. He noticed Dr. Sarah, the same woman who had promised to fight alongside him, working tirelessly at a bedside. Even amidst the crisis, her poise and determination shone bright, and it filled him with renewed strength. Just then, a sob reached his ears, piercing through the sounds of emergency. He turned to see a boy, maybe 8 years old, on the floor, tears streaming down his face. Alone and scared, he clutched a stuffed dinosaur tightly. Michael's heart lurched. This child was like Lily. "Hey, buddy," Michael knelt beside him, trying to meet his gaze. "What's your name?" The boy hesitated, then whispered, "Alex." "Alex," Michael repeated, feeling the weight of his own vulnerability in the boy's fear. "I need your help. Can you show me where your parents are? They're worried about you." Alex sniffed, shaking his head. "They told me to wait right here, but I want to go find them." Michael understood that tangled feeling of helplessness. He leaned closer, choosing his words carefully. "I know it's scary. But if you help me find your parents, I promise I'll stay with you the whole time." The boy finally looked up with hopeful eyes. Okay. As the two made their way through the throngs of people, Michael felt a surge of determination, not just for Alex, but for all the kids like him. This wasn't just about staffing issues, it was about hope, emotional strength, and the undeniable need for community. After what felt like ages, they located Alex's parents huddled together in a waiting area, their frantic faces relaxing into relief. Alex jumped into their arms, and the joy was palpable. Michael watched, a smile breaking through his tension. Moments like this matter. They mattered more than any statistic or budget report. Before he could regain his breath, another nurse approached him, beaming slightly. "We have an emergency meeting happening in an hour to streamline all these issues. They want someone from the families to join. Do you want to represent the parents?" His heart raced with the weight of the invitation. This was exactly the platform he needed, a way to channel the emotions and the urgency of the families into something solid. "Absolutely," he replied, determination flooding back, but as he turned back to find Dr. Sarah amidst the spread of chaos, she was gone. The shifting currents of people and urgency made it hard to spot her. Where could she be? A sudden wave of panic washed over him. He had one opportunity to connect with her, one chance to build their momentum. Without a second thought, he dashed back toward the main entrance, hoping to find her there, wondering if she was safe, and if together they could transform chaos into strength. As he bolted down the hallway, the weight of responsibility pressed on him like never before. Would they band together and change the lives of so many? Or was he racing toward another defeat? The questions echoed in his mind as he sought her out. The fluorescent lights above flickered as Michael navigated the crowded hall, his heart pounding in rhythm with his hurried footsteps. Each passing second pressed down on him, heavy with unanswered questions and fear of what lay ahead. What if he didn't find Dr. Sarah? What if he missed the meeting and couldn't advocate for the families? His pulse raced as he pushed through the tide of people, desperate for a glimpse of her familiar face. He reached the main entrance, his breath coming in quick gasps. The waiting area was chaotic, families glued to their phones while others paced nervously, unable to stay still. He almost shouted her name, but stopped short. He didn't want to add to the anxiety. Instead, he paused to scan the room. Where could she possibly be? As his eyes searched the sea of worried faces, he spotted a glimmer of hope. A nurse he recognized, Sarah's close friend, moved past him. Michael caught her arm gently. "Have you seen Dr. Sarah?" The nurse hesitated, her brow furrowing as if trying to recall. "I think she went to speak with Dr. Jacobs. They're discussing the incoming cases." "Do you know where?" he pressed, his heart racing faster. "Down the hall, third door on the left," she said, pointing. Her expression softened. "Good luck. She's been worried about all the families, especially yours." With a quick nod of thanks, Michael turned and sprinted down the corridor, his feet pounding against the cool tiles. The door to the conference room loomed ahead, and he felt a surge of meticulous urgency within him. He breathed deeply to calm his racing thoughts. This was not just about him, it was about everyone waiting, everyone depending on the medical team that was straining under so much pressure. He pushed the door open without knocking, the sudden creak drawing attention to the people seated around the table. Dr. Sarah looked up, her face a blend of surprise and relief. "Michael. Where have you been?" he asked, his voice a mix of worry and gratitude. "I was just about to wait." She held up a hand, cutting him off. "You need to be here, I'm glad you came." Before he could respond, Dr. Jacobs interjected, his voice firm and authoritative. "We're discussing patient flow and resource allocation. Your input is invaluable. We need to keep parents informed. Education, transparency, these were what Michael wanted more than anything. I have to advocate for the families. They're just waiting there, not knowing what's happening. They need our voices," he explained, a fire igniting in his chest. "Exactly," Dr. Sarah said, eyes shining with understanding. "This is about community and connection in such a hard time. They can't feel lost or abandoned." They dove deep into conversation, ideas bouncing around the table like electrical sparks. Michael felt the weight in his chest dissolve a bit with every word, knowing that their unified voice could help others cope with the uncertainty pressing down on them. Amidst the talk of logistics, moving children to ICU, shortage of nurses, and illness spikes, the atmosphere shifted suddenly. One of the nurses burst in, panic etched on her face. "There's been a code blue in the waiting area," one of the children. "We need all hands on deck." Michael felt the room tilt. His heart dropped into his stomach. "What child?" "Alex," the nurse said breathlessly, her eyes wide. "The boy you helped earlier." The world froze. Time stood still as he processed her words. The energy in the room changed drastically, morphing into palpable fear. He blinked, suddenly all too aware of inadequate breaths, terrified faces, and the hollowness of not knowing what would happen next. "Let us move." Dr. Jacobs barked, already on his feet, and Michael barely registered his own legs pushing him forward. Each step felt heavier than the last. As they rushed back towards the waiting area, the walls seemed to thrum with anxiety and urgency. His mind raced. Would Alex be okay? What more could he do? Would this end in tragedy, or could they muster hope once again? In the midst of the chaos, a single thought burned bright. Every second counted. But would it be enough this time? The waiting area loomed ahead, buzzing with chaos punctuated by cries and murmurs. Michael felt the ground shift beneath him. Time felt elastic, stretching the seconds painfully as fear pooled in his stomach. How had it come to this? One moment, Alex was laughing, and now Dr. Jacobs led the way, moving swiftly through the throng of anxious families, his voice cutting through the noise. "Clear the way. We need space." The crowd parted instinctively, a mix of confusion and instinct pushing them back. Michael pushed through, not fully aware of the people around him, his thoughts consumed by concern for the boy who had stirred something in him that day: innocence, hope, strength. "Stay close, Michael," Dr. Sarah called, her voice firm but laced with urgency. Her presence was a tether, something solid he could hold on to amid the whirlpool of panic. He nodded, determination setting his jaw tight as he matched her speed. They entered the area where a small group of medical staff were clustered around a bed. Under the harsh lights, Alex lay motionless, surrounded by monitors that beeped in rapid succession, the sound creating a frantic soundtrack of uncertainty. A wave of dread washed over Michael, almost knocking him back. He had seen too many heartbreaking outcomes in places like this. Alex. No. A piercing cry shattered the atmosphere. Michael turned to see a woman break through the crowd. Alex's mother. Her face, a mask of terror and disbelief, slashed through the haze of urgency. What's happening? Where's my baby? In an instant, Michael felt both helpless and guilty. Here stood a mother stripped of her hopes, while he was just trying to grasp onto whatever hope he had. Would he have the bravery to be her anchor in this storm? Ma'am, please. Dr. Jacobs' voice rose above the turmoil. We need you to step back. We're doing everything we can. He didn't mean to sound harsh, but the urgency in his tone was palpable. Michael's heart went out to the woman. Your son is in good hands. He called out, his voice breaking slightly. They're going to help him. But even as he spoke, he felt the truth of the matter hanging in the air, a truth that weighed heavily on his chest, threatening to crush the fragile courage building inside him. He looked at Dr. Sarah. Her face, usually so composed, now reflected a raw determination that resonated with him. Then, in the midst of chaos, the unthinkable happened. A stillness settled. The beeping of the machines began to change, pacing slower, as personnel surged into action. The color seemed to drain from the room, filling it with dread. Come on, Alex, Michael whispered under his breath, pressing his palms together, as if the universe might hear him. A gut feeling surged up within him, mixed with anger and sorrow, but mostly, deep-rooted hope for Alex and for the family standing there, on the edge of despair. Dr. Sarah stepped into the fray, her focus laser-like on the child. We need to stabilize him, she directed, her voice steady as she worked, hands confident, a lifeline in a chaotic storm. Michael watched her, transfixed, as she interacted with the team, pulling answers from the chaos. As the minutes stretched into an eternity, Michael felt the weight of every heartbeat, not just his own, but all those gathered. Each second became a prayer, an unspoken bond forming with other desperate parents surrounding him. Then Alex's mother, full of raw emotion, stepped forward, shaking. What can I do? She asked, fear coating her words. Stay strong for him, Michael said, reaching out, trying to give strength, not just to her, but to himself. Just then, the nurse returned with a bright, defiant look, but it was shadowed by urgency. We need more supplies. Keep this clear. Michael's heart raced again, his deep-rooted fear wrestling with a glimmer of hope. What if Alex fought back? What if? Let us not lose hope, he said, even as doubt nagged at him. Would hope be enough in this stark reality? But the truth settled like a cold whisper. Without hope, what was left? And as he stood there, surrounded by uncertainty, the air thick with an unspeakable tension, one thought lingered: how far would he go to save this child? As he braced himself for the outcome, a thought sparked at the edge of his mind. Could he find a way to turn chaos into something meaningful, something life-changing? The answer lay somewhere in the heart of this struggling community. But first, they needed to pull Alex back from the brink before it was too late. Michael's mind was a flurry of thoughts as he watched the frantic movements of the medical team. Each second felt like an eternity, and the air was thick with desperation. Around him, families waited, silently pleading with the heavens for a miracle. He clenched his fists, feeling a surge of determination rising within him. What's taking so long? A man in the corner voiced the collective anxiety, his voice shaking. He's just a kid. Michael didn't want to imagine Alex as just a kid. He was so much more. He embodied a spirit of joy, of life. But that didn't help the mounting dread that clawed at his insides. He turned back to the bed, where Alex lay, a small figure against the backdrop of the sterile room, so vulnerable. Dr. Sarah was still in command, issuing orders with calm authority. More pressure here. We need to increase the flow. Her firm voice steadied the chaos around her, but Michael could see the worry etched on her face. For a moment, their eyes locked, and without words, he tried to convey everything he was feeling: the frantic hope, the unyielding fear, the silent prayer that they would somehow bring Alex back to them. "Michael." Dr. Jacobs's voice cut through the tension again. "We've got blood work coming in." With those words, Michael felt a flicker of optimism spark deep within him. Knowledge was power, and if they had the information they needed, maybe there was still a chance. He took a deep breath, standing a bit taller as if to bolster his own spirit. Just then, Alex's mother, still shaking, reached out for Michael, her eyes wild with fear. You seem to care a lot," she breathed, desperation lacing her words. "What if he doesn't make it?" The question hit him hard. He had been thinking the same thing, wrestling with the hopelessness that crept in with every passing moment. "We have to believe he will," he replied, trying to instill some strength in her. "He has people who care. That has to count for something." Another wave of companions surrounded the area, a surge of support from other families who had felt similar fears. They exchanged tearful, supportive glances, a shared understanding connecting them, a web of community forged in adversity. It was a painful reminder that in times of turmoil, they were never truly alone. Suddenly, a soft beeping pierced the tension, and the monitors surrounding Alex started to stabilize. The chaotic rhythm began to slow. Michael's heart raced. Could it be? His breath hitched as he searched for the team's reactions. "Good. Good." Dr. Sarah exclaimed, relief seeping into her voice. "We're getting a stable rhythm. Keep it up, Alex." A palpable sense of hope filled the air, the energy shifting as if the whole room had collectively exhaled. The nurses exchanged glances, and a few whispered victories to one another. Michael let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. "Oh, thank God," Alex's mother whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. The fear didn't vanish, but now, there was a glimmer of light in the shadow. But just as they dared to hope, the lead nurse rushed back. "We need the parents of patients in rooms 3 and 4. Her voice was sharp, aiming to cut through the mingled emotions. Michael's heart sank. Had something gone wrong with Alex's condition? He turned anxiously to the others, desperation tightening in his chest. "What is going on?" he asked, barely managing to keep his composure. "Let us stay focused, everyone. We can't lose the momentum we've gained," Dr. Sarah urged, her tone firm yet reassuring. As Michael got lost in the swirling emotions around him, one thought echoed louder than the others: he had to stay grounded, to be a voice of hope. Because in a place like this, hope was the only thing that could sustain them through the storm. Just as he gathered enough courage to reach for the fleeting threads of hope again, the unexpected happened. The door creaked open, and in walked uniformed officers, their presence adding a layer of concern. Michael's stomach dropped. What could this mean? The room fell silent, and he could feel every heartbeat in the space. There was something ominous about their arrival. He took a step forward, heart racing again. Could whatever was happening be about to shift everything for them all again? For now, all Michael could do was brace himself for the next wave of uncertainty. "Is there a problem here?" one of the officers asked, glancing around the room with an air of authority that immediately put everyone on edge. Michael's heart was pounding as he took in their somber expressions. His eyes darted to Alex's mother, who now had her hands clasped tightly against her chest, a picture of dread. The officers exchanged serious looks, and he knew instinctively that this was far from a routine inquiry. "Please, what is it?" Michael managed, his voice trembling. "Is Alex okay?" The lead officer stepped forward. "We need to speak with the parents of the patients in those rooms. It's urgent." Before he could continue, the sound of frantic footsteps filled the hallway behind him. A stretcher was hurriedly wheeled past. Its significance was not lost on Michael. The aura of uncertainty thickened. There were whispers from other families, echoing Michael's own fear. He noticed one mother clutching her child closer, as if shielding them from a lurking danger. He wanted to shout for answers but felt stuck, helpless. Suddenly, Dr. Sarah re-entered the room, her face a mix of determination and urgency. "Everyone, we need to keep this area clear. If you have to leave, please cooperate. We're still treating Alex and he needs all of you to stay positive," she urged, her steady voice cutting through the chaos. Michael caught a glimpse of Dr. Jacobs whispering something to the officers, a frown creasing her brow. The tension in the room escalated with each passing moment. Michael wasn't sure if he felt more anxious or angry. They were talking about Alex, and he needed to hear good news. "Sir," one of the officers directed Michael's attention back. "Can we have a moment to speak with you?" Michael glanced at Alex's mother, who shook her head as if to say no. "Please, I can't leave him," she pleaded. "I'll stay," he said, eyes locked with hers. "I'll find out what is going on." He moved to the side, allowing the officers to close the gap. The officer spoke, his voice low. "There's been an incident in the building across the street. We're looking into how it may affect the hospital. We need to ensure everyone's safety, including patients like Alex." Michael felt his heart race again. An incident? What type of threat could permeate into this fragile space? Is it serious? It's too early to tell. "Just a precaution for now," the officer assured him, but doubt lingered in his eyes. Dr. Sarah interjected, her voice fierce yet steady. "We need to keep our focus. Whatever is happening outside can't interfere with our work in here." She glanced at Michael, her confidence bolstering his resolve. He nodded, determined to remain a beacon of strength. He returned to Alex's bedside, squeezing his hand gently as the rhythmic beeping resumed, a reminder of the life still fighting. "You hear that? They're working hard for you. Just hold on." As those words left his lips, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, followed by shouts and chaos. The world outside seemed to fracture as fear seeped back in. "Stay close. Now!" The officer shouted over the noise. Michael felt a surge of panic. What was happening? The air was heavy with uncertainty, and his heart felt as if it were being squeezed. Would he really have to face something more dangerous than he had bargained for? He turned back to the room, taking in the pained expressions on everyone's faces. It was one thing for Alex to battle for his life. Now, they all had to confront a different kind of terror. In that moment, he realized connecting with people, the family surrounding him, was more important than ever. They were in this fight together. But the dilemma loomed larger than Michael had anticipated. Would they all be able to protect their loved ones when danger was so nearby? Just then, the lights began to flicker, and an announcement rang through the hospital. "Attention, please remain calm. All patients are requested to stay in their rooms. Lock your doors." Michael felt a chill run down his spine. Something was brewing. As he looked around the room, a collective uncertainty hung in the air. What were they all about to face? The tremor in Michael's hands was unmistakable, an outpouring of anxiety bubbling just beneath his skin. He glanced back at Alex's mother, whose face was a ghostly mask of concern. In that moment, they were united by the fear of the unknown. The flickering lights above mirrored their rising panic, casting odd shadows that danced ominously around them. He squeezed Alex's hand tighter, trying to project strength, even as his mind raced with questions. What was happening? Why were they all being ordered to lock their doors? Every logical thought he had slipped away as the chaotic sounds of the hallway echoed behind the sterile hospital walls. The officer who had been speaking to him suddenly turned toward the door as another series of loud crashes reverberated through the building. Michael's heart raced. He could see other families shifting nervously, clinging to each other, waiting for clarity in the storm of confusion. "Stay put. Everyone stay calm." Another officer shouted as they rushed down the corridor, their footsteps heavy and urgent. Feeling desperate, Michael stepped toward the door, but before he could fully move, Dr. Sarah appeared again, blocking his path. "There's nothing you can do out there, Michael. Here is where you're needed. For Alex and everyone else," she urged, her voice steady despite the turmoil swirling around them. He knew she was right, yet, in that moment, he felt trapped. But what if? He started, but Dr. Sarah cut him off. No what-ifs. We have to focus on what we can control. Right now, that's Alex, she said firmly, her gaze locking onto his. With a deep breath, Michael nodded. He walked back to Alex's side, his resolve hardening. He mustered a smile, hoping that somehow it could penetrate the darkness looming outside the hospital walls. Look at you, he said, his heart echoing the machine's steady beat. You're a fighter. You hang in there. We're all right here. He noticed a few tears glimmer in Alex's mother's eyes. She caught his gaze, and for a brief moment, a silent connection brewed between them, a testament to shared fears and hopes. They were all fighting this together. Suddenly, the overhead announcement system crackled again. Attention, due to an emergency situation, we're implementing lockdown protocol. Please remain calm and stay inside your rooms. The finality of those words hung heavily in the air, striking both relief and alarm in equal measure. Michael glanced around. The other families were tense, exchanging worried looks, and he felt an overwhelming need to comfort them too. We are going to get through this, together, he said, raising his voice slightly to cut through the anxious murmurs. Let us stay strong for our loved ones. As if in response to his words, a nurse walked into the room, her face flushed but composed. I'll be right here with you. We're doing everything we can for all patients, including Alex, she said firmly, her tone filled with purpose. It was like a bomb on the raw, exposed nerves of the room's atmosphere, but just as they began to settle into their shared strength, a low rumble vibrated through the floor, making the walls tremble softly. Michael exchanged horrified glances with Alex's mother. An emotional undertow surged in him. What if this was more than they were prepared for? We need to stay together, keep communicating. We can't let fear win. He shouted, his voice fighting against the rising tide of uncertainty. But as he glanced at the nurse, he noticed her eyes reflecting not just calm, but a deep-seated worry. What's happening? Alex's mother finally asked, her voice cracking slightly. Michael's heart sank as the nurse hesitated, fidgeting with her hands a slight, but telling sign. Then the lights abruptly went out, plunging them into sudden darkness. Michael felt the collective gasp of the room, their fear palpable. Stay where you are. The nurse yelled, but he could hear the tremor in her voice. And as the shadows engulfed them, Michael realized that the real fight was just beginning. Could they truly survive this night of uncertainty? With darkness closing in, Michael felt his heart race. Each heartbeat thudded in his ears, a relentless reminder of the horror rippling through the hospital. Silence echoed, heavy and unsettling. The air was thick with dread as families exchanged worried glances, each uncertain about what lay beyond the walls. Stay calm. Michael urged again, his voice ringing through the void. We're all in this together. Stay close. He felt Alex's mother trembling beside him, and instinctively grasped her hand. It was a silent promise of solidarity in a chaos that seemed to press in on them. Is everyone okay? A nurse's voice broke through the anxious tension, flickering with authority despite the mounting fear. We need to remain together and help one another. Just then, the emergency lights flickered to life, casting a ghostly glow across the room. The weak light revealed faces drawn in worry and fear, children nestled closer to parents, seeking comfort and reassurance. Michael took a deep breath, his joy and determination fighting the terror that loomed. Listen up. The nurse continued. We're safe here for now. Supplies are on the way, and we have protocols in place. You're doing great. For Alex. With those words, hope ignited among the families. Michael felt it too. The fight was on, and they were ready to stand together. Suddenly, the door swung open. Dr. Sarah stepped in, her features drawn but eyes fierce with resolve. We're mobilizing and prioritizing patient care. We may have to move patients. Listen to our team. Michael nodded fiercely, the camaraderie lifting his spirits. We're here for Alex, Dr. Sarah. Whatever it takes. Dr. Sarah shared a resolute look with him. We will see this through. But I need everyone's help. With her calm directive, Michael could feel the electricity of collective purpose spark amongst them. Stories of fear and bravery began to trickle from parents, a web of strength igniting. Others spoke of needing resources and support, voices echoing, drowning out the alarm outside. They were rallying. As the crowd connected, Michael snapped into action, the anguish of the dark moments shifting from despair to focus. He saw a few anxious families stirring, their worries palpable. We're going to advocate for every child. He shouted, fueled by the collective energy. Let us unite our voices and show the community that this matters. He turned to Dr. Sarah. Can we organize a call, get the community involved? Raise funds, spread awareness? Yes. That's the spirit. She replied, eyes shimmering with approval. Your connection to the community can ignite change. Let us demonstrate how urgent this is. Michael rallied further. If they could see this room, see Alex's fight. Fueled by shared hope, families rallied as they exchanged contact information and began to network, turning their personal struggle into community empowerment. Each heartbeat marked a push against fear, a collective determination swelling like a tidal wave. Hours began to pass, and each tick of the clock forged onward. Laughter bubbled up as a few children made light of the tense situation. Do we have to share our snacks? One little girl asked, her eyes wide with mischief. Michael chuckled, a much-needed reminder of fleeting joy. Dr. Sarah came back around, her demeanor steady and encouraging. We've set a plan in motion. Paramedics are diverting supplies from other facilities, and volunteers have stepped up to help. A wave of emotion filled the room, relief mixed with gratitude. Michael glanced at Alex's mother, her face framing a bright flicker of hope. He's holding on, she whispered, wiping away tears that sparkled like diamonds in the dim light. Yes, Michael agreed, squeezing her hand again. And we're going to ensure that this fight doesn't end here. Moments later, shouts erupted from within the ward. One of the nurses came back barreling into the room, unprompted excitement spreading. Alex has stabilized. He's responding to treatment. Joy erupted in the crowd. Michael felt light-hearted laughter bubble up from deep within him. Yes. We've got this. He exclaimed, tears now stinging his eyes. In unity, the families rallied together in celebration, a camaraderie born out of horror transforming into steadfast strength. The determination to advocate for all the kids in the hospital intertwined their fates in an unbreakable bond. As the overhead lights began to glow brighter again, Michael felt the tight knot of fear unraveling. Alex's fight was not just his own, it was a testament to the families gathered there, a testament of shared love, courage, and the unyielding strength of community. Let us make sure our voices are heard far and wide, he declared, feeling like a brother to every single person there. This is just the beginning. With that, the room erupted in applause, hope blossoming anew as plans took shape. Together, they would fight for a future where no child had to fear for their health, where compassion became a lifeline for a community supported by love. As dawn began to break beyond the hospital windows, Michael took a moment to breathe it in. This was their moment. United, they would transform a crisis into a cause, igniting change in the way healthcare should embrace every family. And thus, a new journey began, a journey of purpose that started behind the walls of the hospital, ready to radiate outward into the community, fueling the flames of hope for countless families. It was time to rise up. And they would not stop until they changed the system for good. Now is the time to support the journey we've just witnessed. You need to subscribe now to our channel so that you won't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Each click makes a huge difference in spreading awareness. Comment your thoughts and reactions about this inspiring transformation. We want to hear how this story touched you. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful message of hope and change. Only true fans understand the urgency of supporting the channel. Let us rally together.